All right, awesome. Thank you very much. First off, thank you to the Lagos TG leaders for this opportunity. I'm very happy to be here and to be able to share with you guys today. So today, as the title for the session reads, we are going to be looking at a health tracker dashboard built in Tableau. And it's a dashboard I already built. I just want to go through the process of how it came to be and just to show you guys how I made it. And hopefully, we can all pick one or two things from the session basically. Just a notice, my screen is here, so I'll be looking here, but just because of my screen, or my camera is here, so in case you see me looking here, don't worry. Also, I'll be keeping my video on, but if I notice any issues with network, I'm not turn off my video just for for the sake of better network. All right. Again, welcome everybody. So before we start, all right, I would like to at least show the dashboard because, like I said, it's already been built in Tableau, and I just want to show you guys what the dashboard looks like, so at least we know what we are working towards, right? We know what we are looking at. Okay, I think I'll just turn off my video just for the sake of everybody's network. All right, so this is the dashboard, and as you can see, it's a health tracker dashboard. And the purpose of the dashboard is simply to track health metrics, right? The whole idea is to be able to track health metrics for, let's say, a certain individual, right? And so you have 9 metrics here that are being tracked. We have blood pressure, heart rate, BMI, calories burned, calorie intake, total steps, water intake, sleep duration, and mood score. Right. So again, the purpose of this dashboard is to track the metrics, and also we are trying to give the user the ability to compare performance, basically, right? So you can look at how you're doing today and compare it against, for example, against last week or against last month. As you can see, um, okay, it's reloading. Yeah, against last week or against the last month, as you can see here, or against the last year as well. So you can either compare versus last week versus last month or versus last year. So that's the basic idea of the dashboard. And also you are allowed to view records. We might not get this records part because it's kind of simple and straightforward, it's just a normal Tableau table. We are going to focus more on this particular page, the track metrics page, where we are going to be seeing how to build the calculated fields that allow this dashboard to work basically. Okay. Also, FYI, if I'm going too fast, please call my attention to it. I've been known to go kind of fast, so if my speed is too high for anybody, just call my attention to it so that I can slow down at any point. All right. Now, what are some things we can see on this dashboard? Like I said, you can see the current metrics. So you see the values for today. So you can see the blood pressure today, heart rate today, BMI today, steps, and all that. You can see all of those metrics today, right? And then you can see a little indicator, right? So for blood pressure, heart rate, and BMI, the indicator doesn't compare to the previous period. Instead, it gives kind of like a situational like notice. So, for example, if your blood pressure is within a certain range, you get a notice based on that range, right? If your heart rate is within a certain range or higher than a certain range, you also get a notice. So, for example, this person's heart rate is 77 beats per minute, so it's a normal heart rate. Uh, if your BMI is also within a certain range, you get some certain notifications or notifiers about that, right? But for the numerical metrics, for the calories, steps, mood score, and things like that, you have kind of like a KPI indicator that shows you comparison between the previous period and the current period, right? So again, like I said, we are going to be looking at how to build the calculated fields that basically make this dashboard work. Okay. Yeah, and I'll be showing you how to also put together the dashboard. Uh, it's not very difficult. And one of the things I like to tell people, particularly my previous students, is that when it comes to cramming how to do it, right? So it's not enough to just try to know all the calculated fields and the functions and try to put everything in your head. No, the first thing is, okay, what am I actually trying to achieve? Why am I trying to achieve it? And then how do I achieve it? So you have to know the what, the why, and then you can learn the how. And in fact, the how is the easiest part because there are a lot of people that have done similar things to what you're about to do. Even if you don't know what to do, you can easily find that information online, right? And for example, I'll be showing you guys some of those things that I got online as well, right? Uh, while I was building this dashboard. Okay. Also, if you have any questions, we have two moderators in the chat. We have Golan and we have Israel. Please do well to reach out to them, ask any questions, just drop your question in the chat. They're very knowledgeable, they'll be able to assist you with any questions that you have in case I don't get to see it. Okay. What else? I think that's really what I'll show you, right? And then the last part I'll show you is the bars. So the bars represent the periods, right? So for example, we have last year. When this is on last year, you are able to see the last 12 months of the year, right? So you're able to see the last 12 months of the year. But when it's on last month, when you set your period to last month, you are able to see the last 30 days of the month. And also, when it is on last week, we are able to see the last 7 days of the week. And as you can see, the last day or the most recent period is indicated in a different color and with a label. So again, I'm going to show you guys how I was able to achieve all of that in Tableau. All right, let's go to Tableau now. And first of all, we're going to have to connect our data sets. And for this dashboard I created, I actually created the data sets with ChatGPT. I'm not going to show you how to do that because it might take some time, but a great resource you can always use is Golan's talk at Data Fest Africa this year. I believe he really did a deep dive into how you can use ChatGPT to build data sets, right? So if you want, you can go on Golan's page and check it out. I don't know if the video is out yet, but if it is, I'm sure you respond. If not, just look out for it. When it's out, you can always learn how to create your data sets with ChatGPT. All right. So I created that data set with ChatGPT, and then of course the first thing you have to do is to connect your data sets, right? So it's a text file, so I'm going to connect to a text file. I already have the data here, I have the folder here as well. So I'm going to click on open, and it's going to open up my data sets for me so I can see a preview of the data set basically. All right. Okay, that's a few seconds. All right, so I think Precious is referring to Bolan's talk at Data Fest Africa about building data sets with ChatGPT. So if that's available, please let her know in the chat as well. Thank you very much. Okay, so this is the preview of the data sets. And as you can see, we have the dates, we have the weights, we have the heights, we have the BMI, we have the calories intake, we have the calories burned, you have the sleep duration, steps count, heart rate, the systolic blood pressure, diastolic blood pressure, mood score, and water intake. All right, so we have this data set. I think it goes from 2022 to 2024, I believe. So we are going to be seeing how we can build current metrics and previous metrics. And for this dashboard, I'm just going to put like a disclaimer. There are actually like quite a number of calculated fields involved. Now, at the end of the day, the calculated fields are split into just a few categories. So you have the first one is the dates calculated fields, where we'll be looking at things like the current period, previous period, the latest date, and things like that, right? Simple things like that. And then we have the latest metrics, where we'll be looking at the most recent calories intake, the most recent height, the most recent, blood pressure, things like that. Then you have the prior metrics. So prior metrics are going to be the metrics we are comparing our latest metrics to basically, right? So for example, if you have your latest BMI, you can compare it to BMI of, let's say, last week or last month. Do you understand? And then we'll have three different sets of what I call differences. So those differences are going to be your latest metrics versus or minus the prior metrics, okay? So we'll be finding the difference between latest metrics and prior metrics, and we'll be seeing the reason why we have three sets of those differences. Okay, so before we start building the dashboard, of course, we are going to build a couple of calculated fields first. And the first one we are going to create is the latest date calculated field. Okay, so the latest date calculated field, somebody's annotating. Maybe kindly stop annotating on the screen, please. Thank you. All right, so the first one we're going to build is the latest date calculated field. And what we are going to build there is basically the most recent date in the dashboard. Also, for the sake of time, I already have these calculated fields built in Tableau, and I have it stored somewhere. So I'm just going to be referring to that, but I'll be trying my best to explain what each of these calculated fields, what they do basically. Okay, so the first one is going to be the latest date calculated field, and very simply, it returns the most recent date in the in the old data set. So I'm going to create my LOD, and I'm going to just say max of dates. Okay, very simple. That's all there is to it. So it's just the most recent date. So if the latest date in the data set is 11th of October or 10th of November, then the max date will be what, 10th of November. Okay, so that's the first one we're going to build. The next one we're going to build is we are going to build the date period parameter. Now, if we go back to our dashboard, remember that in the dashboard, we are able to control the period we see. So if you want to look at last week, you can see last week. If you want to look at last month, you can see last month. And if you want to look at last year, you can see last year. So we're going to be building a parameter. I think 3 of our previous speakers have spoken about parameter, if not all of them. I'm sure one of them at least has spoken about parameters and why we use parameters, right? So, and if not, I'm sure the links to those resources are available. So we're going to be using our parameters to basically control what we see in our view. Okay, so to build a parameter or to create a parameter, just right click here and click on create parameter. Okay, now when you do that, it's going to bring up this dialog box for you, and then we're going to call it date period parameter. Okay, we're going to call it date period, and it's going to be string because we want to put text there. So we're going to make a list, and that list is going to have 3 different values. So the first one is going to be last week, second one will be last month, and the third one will be last year. That's all there is to it. So now we can see our parameter just right here. We'll be using it as we are building our dashboard, to basically do one or two things. Okay. So after building that parameter, because we are looking at last week, last month, and last year, right? We have to see latest week, latest month, latest year as well. We have to connect that parameter to a calculated field that will allow us to actually do all of those controls we want to do, right? So I'm going to be creating a calculated field, and I'll call it the latest week. Okay, so the latest week calculated field is going to basically be allowing us to return a true or false value for the most recent week. Okay, so it will return a true value for the most recent week. Again, the idea of this is to be able to control what we see. So if we look at our dashboard, if I click on last week, right? If I click on last week, our dashboard will just, the view will change, and you can see only the last 7 days of the last week. So we are building the calculated field that allows you to do that. And as I was saying, knowing what you want to do is very important, and it's more important than knowing how to do it. So for this latest week, what's it called? Calculated field now. I actually got most of my calculations that I used for this dashboard, most of my date calculations I used were gotten from Idris dates. I think it's date calculations diary dashboard on Tableau. So he has a Tableau workbook basically that has a lot of date calculations, and I was able to get most of my date calculations from that diary. So if you want, please Bola or Israel, you can help me link that dashboard to in the chat. So it basically contains all the date calculations you might be looking for, right? So we are going to build that calculated field, and to build this, we are going to use the date trunc formula and to truncate the week for us from the date, and we are going to equate this to date add, right? -1 date trunk week and maximum of dates, right? Maximum of dates plus 1. So the whole purpose of this calculated field is it returns the most recent week. So if the date is in the most recent week, you will get true, right? If the date is in the most recent week, you will get true. So there seems to be an issue with my calculated field there. Date trunk week max dates plus 1. What's the error? Expected this. Oh, right. Okay. This should not be here. Okay. So again, it's going to return true for the most recent week and to be false for the um, weeks that are not, the most recent week. Basically, let's see if I can just quickly show um, how that works. Let me see if I can just quickly show that to the dimension. Okay, so it's going to be discrete. Let's see. All right, so you can see the difference. So we have false and we have true. And true is only there for what? For the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, the last 7 days in the entire dates of the data set. So all the other dates will return false because they are not in the most recent week, but the ones in the most recent week will return true. And we are going to make another one called latest month. And latest month is just going to be similar to this. It's going to return true for the most recent month. And we're just going to change all of this to months, months as well. And this should be months. So this will be latest month. That's all there is to that. Yeah, and again, it's the same principle that works here. If I place it here now, you see that you're going to get true for only the last 30 days or the last month in that year or in the entire date period. Okay. And the last one we're going to do now is going to be the latest year. And again, same idea. It's going to return true for all the values, all the date values that are within the last year. Okay. So I'm going to say here, I'll change this to year, I'll change this to year, and I'll change this to year. And I'll click on OK, and that's all there is to that. So next set of calculated fields we are going to be building, we're going to call it date period calculated field. Now remember I said that we are going to be linking our date period parameter to a calculated field that allows us to change that view. So that's the calculated field we want to build now. It's going to be called date period, right? And it's going to return true for only the date period selected in the date period parameter. Okay. In other words, when I change my parameter value here to, let's say, latest week or last week, it will return the latest week for me. If I do last month, it will return latest month for me. And if I do last year, it will return latest year for me. So I'm going to create a case statement using my date period parameter, right? And I'll say when that parameter is on last week, then return the latest week for me, right? When it's on last month, then return the latest month. And finally, when it is on last year, then return the latest year. End. That's all. So now we have our date period calculated field that allows us to actually select only the periods we want to see, basically. So it's linked to this parameter. So anything we are doing using the parameter will be linked to this calculated field here. Okay. Now another calculated field we're going to be creating is called the date period selected. Now what this one is going to be able to achieve for us is that it's going to return the names of the date periods we are selecting. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'll say returns the names of the date period selected. Okay, and we're going to use the same date period parameter again. And when it is last week, right? Then it's going to give us the name of that period. So for last week, it's going to give us the days of the week. Okay. For last week, it's going to give us days of the week. I'm just going to copy this, paste, and I'm going to change it to months. So when it's on last month, it's going to give us the names of the day as well. So remember that in our dashboard, when it is on last week and last month, it's going to show you the days of the days in that period, basically, right? So this one is also showing you the days. That's why we have day year, not week or month. Okay. So when it is now last year, it's going to give us the months. Okay. It's going to give us the months. Now again, let us test out that calculated field. Let's test out that calculated field and see how it works. So if I say this period selected now, so if let me show the parameter. So if I choose last week, last month, okay, I have to actually place my date here to show how it works actually. But anyway, let's leave that for now. I'll be showing you when I do the batch out. I don't want to waste time experimenting with that because time is very limited. Okay. The next ones we are going to be building, since we have the latest dates, we have the latest month, we have the latest week, we have latest year, right? We also need to build the prior week. So for example, if I want to compare today's metric to last week's metric, right? Then I can, compare that using the prior week. If I want to compare it to last month, then I can compare it using prior month. And if I want to compare it to last year, I can compare it using prior year, right? So that's basically what we're going to be doing now. And I'm going to be building the prior week calculated field. To build that, we say prior week. And again, what it's going to do is it's going to return the dates exactly 1 week to the most recent date. Okay, so if today's date is 10th of November, the prior week will return what? 3rd of November for me, right? So that's all we are doing here. And it's going to be date add week -1 of the max date. Okay, so if you don't already understand what it is, all you are just doing here is saying subtract 1 week from the most recent dates, right? Subtract 1 week from the most recent dates. That's all this calculation is saying. Okay, so we have date add -1 to the most recent dates. That's all it's saying, right? So that's the prior week. Next, we'll do the same thing for prior months. We'll do the same thing for prior year. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this and I'll say prior months. Okay, prior months. And that's all I'm changing there. I'll change it to month as well. Click on OK, and I'll duplicate it one more time. And I'll call this prior year. Call this prior year. Call this prior year, and yeah, that's all. So the prior year will be, let me see if this will work. Right, so I want the exact date. So as you can see now, let me put the most recent dates there as well, so that you can see how it looks like. Right, so the most recent date is what? 31st of December 2023. So the prior year to that date is what? 31st of December 2022. And if we do the same thing for prior week and prior months, we get exactly the same idea, right? So the prior week is what? 24th of December 2023. And the prior month is what? 30th of November 2023. All right. So those are the different date calculations that we'll be building. We have just 3 more date calculations we'll be building, and then we'll move on to the other ones, the more I don't call them more important, but the more anyway, they are more than the date calculation. So you see what I mean when you get there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do latest day. Now, the purpose of this latest day calculated field is that it's going to return true for the most recent day of the week. And the purpose of this is simply because of this bar, this last bar that we have here. Now, the idea is want to highlight the most recent date in the period, right? So if you have the 1 week, want to highlight only the last day of the week, that's the most recent date. If you have months, want to highlight the most recent months, right? So this blue that I highlighted there is going to be made possible by the calculated field that I want to build now. It's going to allow us to control the colors of the bar so that one bar will stand out from the rest. That's all. So to build that, I'm going to use I'm going to build a calculated field called latest day, and it's going to return true for the most recent date. Now, this one is different from latest dates. Remember that latest date is a date. It is the most recent date, right? So latest day is similar to latest month, latest week, and latest year, right? What it does is it will give you a true value for the most recent date. Okay, so it's not the same as latest date, so don't get them confused. So I'm going to say date trunk day date equals to date add day -1 date trunk day the maximum of dates. So again, if these calculated fields maybe they are kind of new to you or you are not very familiar with them, please just go and check out Idris's dashboard. It's very explanatory. It even includes like a visual guide so that you can see what it looks like on the dashboard. So please, if you are very interested in learning how to use them and how to create them, just go and check it out. It's going to be very helpful for you. Okay. So that's latest day. Then we are going to build the calculated field that controls that color I talked about earlier, where we'll be using to control the color, and we'll simply call it date color. Okay, and it's going to return true for the latest period depending on the parameter value. Now, what that means is, again, let me just refer back to the dashboard. What that means is when I change this parameter, then the color of the bar should also adjust to that parameter. Okay, meaning that if I put it on last month, then it should also highlight the most recent day there like that. And if I put it on last year, then instead of highlighting the most recent day, it should highlight the most recent month. That's why we are building this color calculated field. Okay, that's simply why we are building this color calculated field. All right. Yeah. Okay. So let's go back to the dashboard and call it this color, and it's going to return true for the latest period, depending on the parameter value. Okay, depending on the parameter value. All right, cool. Let's build it now. So we have case, and we're going to refer to that parameter again. It's going to be called date period. And when that date period is last week, then return latest day for me. Okay. And then same thing applies when it is last month, it's also going to return latest day. And when it is last year, it's going to return latest, what's it called? Sorry, give me a second. This should be this, not the calculated field. Yeah, it should be this parameter. When it is the last year, it's going to return latest month. Cool. So that one is going to allow us to control the colors when we start building our bar charts. Okay, it's going to allow us to control the colors when we start building our bar charts. Okay, we'll stop the date calculations for now. Before I move forward, I want to change the way I group my calculated fields just for let's say clarity and order. So I'm going to create a new folder and I'll call it my date calculations, and I'll place all my date calculations inside that folder, right? All my dates fields will be placed inside that folder just so that it's more organized and I can refer to them easily. Because by the time we finish building all the calculated fields, there are quite a number of them. So it's very good to organize your folders so that you can basically see them when you need to see them better. Okay. So we are done with that one now. Now we are going to start building the latest metrics calculations. Okay. We're going to start building the latest metrics calculation. Now for this ones, there are a lot of repetitions because remember on our dashboard, we have 9 different metrics, and the calculations are all similar to one another, right? They're all similar to one another. So we are just going to be like repeating them a lot. So once I build one or two, I'll just copy the rest and paste them just to save our time so that we don't have to, go through all of them one by one. So I'll create one called the latest BMI. And what that does is it returns the BMI for the most recent dates. Okay, so it returns the BMI for the most recent dates. I'm going to start by building an average of if the date is equal to latest date, then return the BMI for me. That's all. Okay, if the date is equal to the latest date, return the BMI for me. What that just does is for the most recent date in the entire data set, return the BMI value. That's all. Very simple, very straightforward. No wahala. Then we'll just duplicate this and we'll do the same thing for what's the next one? Let's say for the diastolic BP, I'm going to call it BP dias, and it's going to return the diastolic BP for the most recent date. So instead of having BMI here, I'm just going to have BP, what is it now? Blood pressure diastolic, and that's all. Okay, so again, it's a lot of copy and paste because all of them are very, very similar. So I'm just going to duplicate this and run through them very quickly just so that I don't have to spend so much time. So I'll do the same thing for systolic and it's return the systolic BP. Change this to systolic. Cool. And yeah, that's okay. And then we'll do the next thing. We'll do the same thing for calories burned. So for calories burned is just similar again, calories burned. And I'll remove this one that's here and change it to calories burned. I'll do the next thing for calorie intake. By the way, I'm just doing it for each of these metrics. By the way, these are our 9 metrics, just in case you missed it. These are our 9 metrics. Blood pressure diastolic, blood pressure systolic, BMI, calories burned, calorie intake, heart rate. We're not doing for height. We're doing for mood score. We're doing for sleep duration, step count, and water intake. Okay, so we are going to create all those calculated fields for all of these metrics basically. Okay, so we're going to have the latest. So we've done for calorie burn, so we'll do for calorie intake, and it's going to return the calorie intake for the most recent date. So I'm going to change this to calorie intake. Right, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just going to duplicate this last 4, and I will edit them one by one, just for the others as well. So by the way, I'm creating all these calculated fields now before we start building, just so that we won't have to be interrupting the dashboard or the charts themselves when we're actually building, right? So that's why I'm actually taking the time to create all of them now, so that when the time comes to actually build the dashboard, we'll just be placing and dropping and moving and shaking basically. Okay, so the next one we have is the latest. We've done calorie intake, so we have HR, that's the heart rate, and I'm going to return the latest heart rate. Okay, so this is the heart rate. Next one is going to be the latest mood score, and it's return the latest mood score. Okay. The next one is the latest sleep duration. Please, if you have any question, please drop them in the chat. Again, we have people that are going to attend to your questions in case you missed any step or something is not very clear to you. Please don't be shy to ask questions. All right, the next one is going to be steps counts. This is going to be Steps counts. Steps counts. I think we have one more to go, which is going to be the water intake. Cool. Cool. So we built all our latest metrics. And if I was to place them on the chart, on the sheet, for example, you see what I'm talking about. So this is the latest BMI, for example. So that is the BMI for the most recent date. If you want to do sleep duration as well, this is the latest sleep duration. You know, that's just the purpose of all those things that we're building. Okay. Again, I'm going to create another folder just so that I can place them, and I'll call this latest metrics. Okay. And I'm just going to place all of these guys here. I'm going to place them into this folder. Okay. Latest metrics. Boom. The next one we have to create is going to be the prior metrics. So the metrics for the previous period, like I explained earlier. Okay. And it's going to be very similar. We are going to be building prior metrics, which will be, we're only building for 6 of them, by the way, in this case, from calories burned, calorie intake, mood score, sleep duration, steps count, and water intake. So once I build the first two, or once I keep saying build, once I create the first two, I'm going to just copy it and just do like what I just did. Okay, so it's going to be prior calories bond, and again, prior calorie bond is going to be is going to return the calories bond for the prior date, depending on the date period selected. Now, this one now, I need to kind of explain a little bit before I actually create this. Now, the idea here is, remember, our parameters that we created, those parameters, this parameter here, it controls what we see on the dashboard. So that means that if I change my date period to last month, then the prior calories bond has to reflect the calories bond for the last month. Same thing applies for last week and last year. So what that means is that our calories bond calculated field depends on the parameter called this period. So we are going to be using another case statement here now, because for each of those cases of the parameter, we want it to return calories bonds for those periods. Okay, so just follow along. We're going to say case date period parameter. All right, now what is going to happen is when I select last week on my in my parameter, right, then I want it to return the calories bonds for the prior week. Okay, so it's working based on the parameter, and it's also working based on this conditional statement that says that, okay, if the date is the prior week, then return the calories bond. Okay, and that's all. So look at the connection. It says that when I change my parameters to last week, then look for the date of the prior week and then return the calories bonds for that date. Okay, that's all we are doing here, right? When I select last week, check the dates and look for the prior week. That's the 1 week before, and then return the calories bond for that week. Okay, so I'm going to copy this. Copy this and paste just for the sake of time as well. And okay, so when I now change this to last month, what's going to happen? Then it's going to look for the prior months and also return the calories bond. And when I change it to last year, then it will go and look for the prior year and then give me the calories bond as well. Okay, cool. That's all we are doing here. Okay, I'm going to click on OK, and I'll build another one. Me and this build check. I'll create another one, and it's going to be the prior calorie intake. Okay, it's going to be prior calorie intake, and again, it's the same idea we are applying here. It's just that we are going to be returning calorie intake. So one thing about Tableau that I find very fascinating is once you are able to actually understand how to, let's say you have like repeating calculated fields now, you can see that once I build this how do I do the rest? No, once I can figure out one of them, the others just become very easy to figure out basically. Okay. All right. So this is for calorie intake, and it's going to return the same thing we have here basically for calorie intake. So I'm going to click on OK as well. Now I'm just going to duplicate this and do the rest. I'll do the same thing for the rest of them as well. All right, so I'm going to do it for mood score. I'm going to do for mood score. So it's to return the mood score for prior days. So I'm just going to change this. So what I'm just going to be doing is, in fact, I don't really screen myself. I can just be dragging mood score and replacing it there. I'll drag mood score, replace it there. I'll drag mood score, replace it there. And I'll click on OK. I'll do the same thing for sleep duration. So I will drag sleep duration, move it there. Same thing here, and same thing here. Cool. The other one is for steps counts. I'll drag steps counts here, drag steps counts here, and drag steps counts here. And lastly, we are also going to do the same thing for water intake. Don't worry, guys, we're almost done. In the next 15 minutes now, we should be done with all these calculated fields. Then we can start building our charts and dashboards. So just in case you are getting tired of calculated fields already. Okay, so water intake, I'll drag it here, and I'm just going to replace that. Okay, so we are done with that now. I'm going to create another folder and just place these ones there. I'll call it prior metrics. Boom. So I'll drag all my prior calculations and place them in that folder. And we have that there now. Okay, I'll also do the same thing for these ones. I will put them into a folder called metrics. So I'll put them into this folder called metrics. So now I have all my fields basically in the folders that. So in case I need to refer to any of them, I know where to look for it. It just makes life easy for me basically. Okay. Good. Now the next set of calculated fields we are going to build are the differences. Now the differences we are building are going to be in 3 sets. So we're going to have the positive differences, the negative differences, and the ones where there are no difference, that there are no differences basically, or there's no difference, pardon my language. Now let me explain why we are building 3 sets of differences. Now, if you remember from our first session, Bola taught us how to use, right? Bola taught us how to use what's it called? The sign function, right? To return different colors, right? So it tells us how to use the sign function to return different colors, so that if a calculation is negative, you get a difference, you get like -1. If it's positive, you get +1, right? Now that allows you to control colors and shapes, right? But our KPI metrics we have here actually don't use any shapes. They are all texts, right? They are all text. So the sign function will not work for that because we cannot change all the colors of all the text, right? So we are building 3 calculated fields that are going to allow us to attach an individual color to each of them, right? So for example, if my calories burned for today is greater than my calories burned for last week, right? It's going to return a green color using our positive difference. And then if it is less than, it will return a red color like this using what? The negative difference. And then if there's no difference at all, it's going to return a neutral color. Okay, so all of the calculated fields are very, very similar. And like I said, in 15 minutes or 10 minutes, we'll be done because they are very, very similar. It's just like different scenarios, right? So positive means the latest is greater than prior. Negative means prior is greater than latest. And no difference means prior and latest are equal to one another, okay? So I'm going to first of all build my negative differences. And so the first one I'll build is going to be calories burned difference negative, right? So what I'm going to use is I'm going to build a conditional statement to return the negative difference for calories burned. if the latest is less than prior. Okay, and it's very easy. All we are doing is if latest calorie burn is less than prior calorie burn, then give us the difference of the two of them. So calorie burn minus prior calorie burn. That's all. That's what we are doing, right? So if the latest calorie burn is okay, what's the issue here? Panami said, okay, so I think I missed something in my calculations here. I think I should have put average here and I did not put average. So I'm going to quickly correct that now. I think that's what the error is coming from. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to just do that for all of them. So the error that I was showing was that you cannot mix aggregate functions and like aggregate fields and non-aggregate fields. In other words, I was trying to compare the latest calorie burn, which is an aggregate field. You know, I already averaged this, and I was trying to compare it to this prior calories burn, which was not aggregated at the time. So that's why I was running that error. So now I have to actually go and aggregate all the prior metrics because I skipped that when I was creating them. So that won't take any time at all. So I'm going to have average here. Now, the reason why I'm doing the average in the calculated field is just so that I don't have to do it again when I'm like building the dashboard. It just makes life easier for me, makes it faster for me to build my views and my charts basically. Because if not, I can equally average them when I'm placing them on this card, right? In a few moments, it will all make sense. Don't worry. Just bear with me. Okay, so we've done calorie burn difference. The next one we'll do is calorie intake difference. And it's just, again, it's the same idea. But in fact, for this one, what we are going to do is we are going to duplicate it twice and we'll do the negative, positive, and no difference all at the same time, right? So it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be the same idea. So we've done for negative now. For the positive, all it's going to be is that latest is greater than prior, right? That's all we are changing. So if latest is greater than prior, give us the difference. That's all. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, right? So this one is no difference. In other words, if they are equal to one another, then give us the difference, which will be 0 in this case, right? Now, we now have 3 different calculated fields. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So if I place 3 of them on my text now, right, what I can do is that I can go into my text mark and I can choose a different color for each of them, right? So for the no difference, I can choose something like a gray color. For the positive difference, I can choose something like a green color. And for the negative difference, I can choose something like a red color. So in this case now, what happens is that when it is negative, you have a red color like this, right? So if it's now positive, what will happen? The color will change to the green one, and all the others will be 0, basically, okay? Because of that conditional statement that we attached, all right? So I've done for calorie burn. I'm going to do the same thing now for calorie intake and the rest of them. So this will be calorie intake negative difference. And the idea is basically, so I'm just going to copy them from where I have them, just for the sake of time. I don't want to waste too much time. Okay. Latest calorie intake. Calorie intake, yeah. So I'll do that. I'll create for, okay. I'll duplicate this. Cool. And this is going to be positive, and it's just going to be greater than. Cool. And then I will do for no difference as well. And this is going to be equal to, right? So when it is equal to that, yeah. So again, we're going to repeat this. It's just going to be repetition of this process for the others as well. So I'm going to also do for mood score. I'm just going to copy it from where I already have it and paste it there. So it does the same thing here. I'll duplicate it twice. And I'll do the positive now. And in this case, it's going to be greater than. And I will also do for the no difference. So this will be equal to, and this will be equal to. So again, for the sake of our time, I'm just going to copy the rest from where I have them. I'm going to copy the other calculators fields from where I have them. And I'm going to paste them here just so that we don't have to go through each of them one by one. So I don't bore us to death with my calculator fields. All right, so I'm going to copy this. And I'm just going to paste it here. Anyone that has an error, we have to edit. So step counts, right? Step counts. Please don't forget, if you have any questions, please do us ask in the chat. All right, so water intake as well. Replace them. Water intake. Time. And last but definitely not least, water intake. Cool. So now again, we are going to just put all of them, all the similar ones, we're going to put them into into a similar folder, right? So I'm going to create a new folder and call this negative differences, right? I'll do the same thing for the positive ones. I'm going to create a folder and call it positive differences. And last one is going to be no difference, right? No difference. Cool. So we have built most of the calculated fields that we need to build. From this point on, we are maybe only building with 2 or 3 more, and we are basically done, right? No more calculated fields. Okay, so the last set we want to build are these ones right here. Now, you notice that for the blood pressure, heart rate, and BMI, right, we don't have like comparisons with previous period like the other ones we have. What we have is actually the notifier, like I said earlier. So we have things like this that notify us based on the current value. So we actually are going to build those calculated fields now. I'm going to create a calculated field and I'll call it BMI text. So what is going to return is going to work based on certain range of values of BMI. So if you don't know, BMI is body mass index, and for body mass index, they're based on certain ranges of values. Your body mass says a lot about your health. So if it is less than a certain value, then you are underweight. If it is within a certain range, then you are normal weight, and if it is greater than that range, you are basically overweight. So we are going to be building the conditional statements for those ones, right? So we're going to build conditional statements to return different text for different values of BMI. Okay, so first off, if the latest BMI is less than or equal to 18.4, then you are going to return underweight. Okay, else if your BMI is less than or equal to 24.9, then return normal weight. Else return overweight. Okay, overweight, right? So if your BMI is less than or equal to this figure, then it will show you underweight, right? If it is less than or equal to 24.9, that's if it does not meet this condition, but it is still less than 24.9, then return normal weight. If it doesn't meet either of these conditions, then just return overweight, right? So that's the BMI text. The next one we're going to build is the text for the blood pressure. Okay, is the text for the blood pressure. This one is a bit longer, and that's because blood pressure is a bit more complicated than BMI. So if you check blood pressure ranges, right, you will see, and again, this is one thing I want to say. When you're building dashboards like this, it's important to, if you don't have very good domain knowledge of the field that you're building the dashboard in, right? So for example, I'm not actually a medical practitioner, or like I don't have any medical background. So a lot of these things I did, I have to do research for them because I don't actually know them, to heart. So I have to make reference to a lot of charts like this. So for example, for the blood pressure now, you see that you have different kind of conditions here, right? So if your systolic blood pressure is less than 120 and your diastolic is less than 80, they'll say that your blood pressure is normal. And again, if it is in these other ranges, they say it's elevated, high blood pressure 1, stage 2, hypertensive crisis. So we have to build calculated fields that allow for all of these values. Okay, so what we are going to do is, again, we are going to build conditional statements to return different texts for different values of blood pressure. Okay, so the first thing is if the latest systolic blood pressure is less than or equal to 120 and the latest diastolic blood pressure is less than or equal to 80, then you return normal blood pressure. Else, if the latest, okay, I'm just going to copy this just for the sake of time again, and I'm going to be changing the values. I'm going to copy and paste. So if it is less than or equal to 129 and less than 80 in this case, then you will say it is elevated blood pressure. Okay. Else, if now in this one we are going to follow the guide we have here. Now, this one says that if your systolic blood pressure is within this range, or if your diastolic is within this range, where you have high blood pressure or hypertension stage 1. So we are going to be reading kind of like okay, you saw what I'm talking about anyway. So what I'm going to say is if your latest systolic blood pressure is less than or equal to 139 and it is greater than, or let's say if it is greater than or equal to 130 and that's for systolic, right? And your systolic as well is less than or equal to 139, or if your diastolic, now remember we are building it based on what we are seeing here, right? So you have to make reference to what we have here. So if your diastolic blood pressure is greater than 80 and less than 89, then in this case it will say stage 1 hypertension. Now what this means is that if somebody's BP, let's say your BP is less than 130, but it is greater than 80, then it is still going to return what? Stage 1 hypertension, because we are saying or, right? We are saying or, we are not saying and like the rest. In this case, it is one of the two. So if this condition is met or if this other condition is met, then it will return this text called stage 1 hypertension. Second to the last one is, I'm going to copy this just because it's very similar. I'll change this from 130 to 140. I'll change this to 149. Again, all of this is just making reference to the chart I showed just a minute ago. I think this is going to be 89 or 90 rather, and 120, right? Cool. Then in this case, this is going to return stage 2 hypertension. Okay. Else, what you are going to return is hypertensive crisis. Consult a doctor immediately. Okay. Hypertensive crisis. I wrote 1,400. Oh, sorry about that. Thank you guys very much. At least I know that you guys are following. Thank you very much for that. So now this is our calculated field that returns different values based on the person's blood pressure on the most recent dates, right? It's a bit longer than the rest of them, but that's just because of the complexity of the conditions themselves. Okay. So I'm going to click on OK. And then the last one we are going to do is for the act rate. I believe the act rate is easier than this one. Right. So for act rate, I'm just going to call it act rate text. And I'll say if the latest act rate, right, is less than 60, then you see that the person has low act rate. Again, this is based on research that I did, act rate range. Sorry, guys. Hello, can you hear me? Please, can anybody confirm if you can hear me, please? Okay, thank you very much. I really don't know what happened there. MTN just decided to cut me off. Really sorry about that, please. Sorry about that. Okay. Um, anyway, so for the act rate, again, we are just going to be applying the same. Oh, my screen is not shared yet. Give me a second. Okay, please confirm that you can see my screen now. All right. Um, again, thank you. Cool. Let's just quickly move on. For the act rates, again, it's going to be the same idea. We're going to be using conditional statements to return different values. So if the act rate is less than 60, the person has a low act rate. Else, if the act rate is between 60 and less than or equals, that's between 60 and 100, right? Then it's going to say you have a normal act rate. Else, if the act rate, right, is greater than 100, then we have high act rates. Else, return invalid act rates. That's just for in case of citizens and you Nigerian will say. Okay, so those ones are going to go into our latest metrics folder. We are going to use them when we need to. Now, we have created a lot of calculated fields. Again, there are a lot of them, and I did this because when we start creating, I want to do a seamless flow so that I don't have to like stop and interrupt, right? So the only calculated field you have to build will be later when we just build like two simple calculated fields for what we are going to be doing, right? So the first thing we are going to do is we are going to build the KPIs, okay? We are going to build the KPIs. So let's start with the blood pressure KPI, okay? So for this blood pressure KPI, like I said, we we are not okay. We are going to be using shapes for this, but we're only going to be using one shape. We are not doing average of zero like the other guys have done. That's because of the kind of excuse me, that's because of the kind of charts we are creating. We are not using the sign function. So a lot of things are just going to be based on text. Okay. But then we just create a shape, and that shape is just going to be um, a, a blank shape. Like it's going to be, what's it called now? It's going to be transparent, right? So let me just create this calculator field called shape. And what I want to do is that I don't want to keep changing the shape every time I create a new KPI page. So this shape is going to be on my shape. And anytime I place it on shape, it's going to give me the shape I want. So I'm going to set this shape to a blank shape. Please give it a second to load. Yeah, so I'm going to set a blank shape like this, right? And I'm going to say, okay, I'll set the entire view. And now we're going to start building. Okay, so we are going to have the latest systolic and diastolic blood pressure in our charts. So okay, let's check the heart rate calculation. All right. Okay, so thank you very much, Kenny. Right. So we are going to use the systolic and diastolic blood pressure. So if you know how blood pressure is, you have the systolic versus the diastolic blood pressure, right? Yeah, so I made a mistake in my heart rate calculated field. What we had here before was um okay, yeah, so this should be HR. Yeah, so what we had here was BMI before, but I have to change it to heart rate. Thank you very much for that, Kenny, and Billy as well. Okay, so I'll put my systolic and diastolic blood pressure on my text. So you can see the blood pressure. I'm going to format it, and then I'm going to put the BP text as well on my text. Okay, I'm going to put the BP blood pressure text on my text. Let me check my calculated field if I did not make any mistake. Uh, cool. So now I'm going to format my text now, and I'm going to have the systolic on top because that's how blood pressure is usually written. I'm going to have systolic versus diastolic, right? And then the text will be beneath that. And I'm going to have just a text called today. So this today text is just going to be like the indicator of the day. So what I'm just saying is that these metrics you are seeing here are for today's values basically. So I'm going to say mmHg because that's the units for blood pressure, and I am going to make this guy. I'm going to make the two of them. I'm going to make them bold, and I'm also going to make them 11 fonts. Right. So these other ones, I'm going to grade them out a bit. I don't really want them to be too obvious. Cool. I'll align my text to the left because of the way it looks like here, right? On the dashboard, you see that it's aligned to the left and then the bar is aligned to the right. So that's just the reason why I'm aligning it to the left. And before I move on, I'm going to change my workbook font. For this dashboard, I use Calibri. I never use Calibri in my dashboards, but for some reason, I think I ended up using either Calibri or Arial in this dashboard. Okay, it was eventually Roboto, in fact, I think. So it was the Roboto I used. You can use any fonts you want. I'm typically a Poppins person, but if you like Arial, like Bolan, you can always use Arial if you want. Okay, cool. So this is our BMI KPI. I mean our BP KPI, right? The last thing we want to do is we want to format this. Typically your BP will not show in decimal values. It will show like whole numbers. So I would format my blood pressure values. I'll change the default properties of the number format to be a number with no decimal places. Okay, so now I have my blood pressure, which is 101/86. And it's saying stage 1 hypertension based on the calculated field we wrote. Don't forget, right? In our calculated field, we said that once the blood pressure is greater than 80, that's the diastolic, then it's supposed to say you have, stage 1 hypertension. So that value is purely based on that alone. Okay. The next one we'll do is, so we'll call this BP KPI. The next one we'll do is going to be heart rate KPI. And I'm going to basically do the same thing. I'll drag my shape. I'll make it a shape. Drag my shape onto shape. Then I'll drag my heart rate on text. I'll drag my heart rate text on label. I'll make this entire view. I'll fit the label to the left, align, and I'll just do the same thing I did. So I'll say today, and then I'll make this bold and 11. I'll say this per minute. Change back to 9. I'll change this color of gray it out a bit. Boom. Cool. So again, we are going to, oh, I did the wrong thing. All right, so this one is supposed to be here. And this one is supposed to be here. Okay, and then I'll do the same thing I did for the other one. I'm going to format the text so that it's going to return whole number for me for the hash rate. So I'm going to default property number format, and it's going to be a whole number basically. Then I'm going to repeat the same thing for calorie intake. So for calorie intake, again, it's going to be a shape. Now in this one, you are going to see how we are going to use the differences, right? So for calorie intake, I've placed my shape here. Now I'm going to place my latest calorie intake on labels, right? Then I'm going to place my differences now. So I'll take the negative difference, I'll place it there. I'll take no difference, I'll place it there. And finally, I'll take the positive difference and I'll place it there. So we have the 3 differences on our calculated field. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place the date period there in the text. Now you're going to see what is going to happen. Okay, so give me a second. Okay, so this is the parameter I'm going to place there in the text. Cool. So I'll format this now and I'll say today, right? And this one is going to be at the bottom. And I want to show you how I use the differences in my calculated field. Right, so the calorie intake itself will be 11. So this will be 11 calories. Right, and then I'll place all the differences side by side. And for the negative difference, it's going to be red. No difference is going to be gray. And the positive difference is going to be green. I'll make them bold. And I'll say from this period. Now, what this is going to do for me is it's going to return the latest calories and then the difference of my calories. So what this is telling me is that my current calorie intake is 888 calories less than what I had last month. So what happens is if I show my parameter now and I change my parameter to last week, then you see that the value has changed. So now it was 782.9 from the last week. And if I change it to last year, see what happens, the same thing happens. So basically, the parameter is controlling what you're allowing your user to see, right? The parameter is allowing you control what you want to see. So that's why we have that here, right? So I'm going to do the same thing for all of the other metrics now. Quickly, just because of time, I'll build all the KPI charts for all the other metrics. I'll do for calories burned. And then I'll return the latest calorie burn on text, calorie burn difference, calorie burn no difference, and calorie burn negative difference. And I'll put shape. put shape on shape. I'll put date period on text as well. Okay, so shape should be on shape. Okay, so this period will be down here. This will be here. This will be here. Okay, so the positive one is going to be 11. Bold. We have today. This should be, the positive will be green, the no difference will be gray, and the negative will be red. Okay, and I'll say from my period. That's for my this period. Okay, and I'll align this to the left as well. Okay, next one I'll do is for the steps. I'm just going to follow the same idea. Step counts, step counts, step counts, step counts. And shape, I'll change this to shape. And my shape will be a shape. And my this period will be the labels. Now, I'm just going to, okay, so the latest step counts up here. Again, this is not different from what I just did in on the other two or other three. It's just the same idea. I'm just not giving a commentary like the other ones. This will be red for the negative as well. Bold 11 today. And I'll make this one, okay, no difference is gray. Negative is red. And yeah, this will also be grayed out. I'll do the entire view and I'll align it left. So I'm just going to duplicate. I think this should be steps. I should add the units there, right? So I'll have steps from, same thing for this one. I'll add this, I'll say calories. And I'll say, okay, calories. All right, so we are just building our KPIs here. Again, since we've created all our calculated fields, it makes it very easy for us. We don't have to crack our brains to think of what we are doing. We're just copying, pasting, dragging, and dropping. Okay. I'm going to be duplicating this now for the next one, which is steps. Then we have sleep duration. I believe this should be sleep KPI. I'm just going to replace them. So this latest sleep duration will be on latest sleep, right? Then sleep duration negative difference will be on, okay, so this should not be here. This will be a negative difference. No difference will be on no difference. Positive difference will be on positive difference, right? So I don't have much change here. This will just be hours. Duplicate this once again. I'll raise and repeat for water intake. So water intake negative, water intake no difference, water intake positive difference, and water intake the latest. And I'll change this to liters. Okay. Which one is left? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think we have mood score. I don't know if you've done BMI. We've not done BMI as well. I'll duplicate this for BMI. And for BMI, actually, I'll duplicate the ones for BP since it's more similar. So for BMI, I'll have my latest BMI here. And then I'll remove this one. I'll have my BMI text here, and I'm going to just make some changes here. I'll remove these units because it doesn't apply. I'll remove these ones, and easy peasy lemon squeezy. Done with that. And I think this will be the last one, which is mood score. Mood score will now be latest mood score will be here. The mood score difference will be here. No difference will be here. Positive difference will be here. Okay. And I need to remove the letters from there. Good. So we built all of our KPI cards, right? We built all our KPI cards, and now we have to build our bar charts. So in this viz, you will notice that the only two type of self-visualizations we have here are just bar charts and KPIs, right? Just bar charts and the KPIs. That's all we have there. So we don't have a lot of building, charts to do. Just those ones that we have to do, and all of them are very, very. First thing we want to do for our bar chart is we are going to place our date period selected on the columns. Now, because we have latest year in our parameter, it is showing us what the 12 months of the latest year, right? And then I'll place I'm building my blood pressure V's now, right? So I'll go to my metrics and I will drag my, I believe it is I think it's systolic I used here. So I'm going to drag my systolic here, right? And then I'll make it the entire view. Now look at where the date color is going to come in. So when I drag my date color and place it on color now, look at what happens. It highlights one of them. Now it's still giving us two colors. That's because we have to put our date period on filters. Now, what date period of filters does is it allows us to return only the period we selected. So in other words, if we have the last year, this is going to filter down the entire dates to the last year. So when I click on true now it's going to filter down all those dates to the last year. So what we are looking at now is January of the last year down to December of the last year. So I'm going to change from sum to average. All right, I'm going to change from sum to average. And then on my labels, I'm going to place the label field I talked about earlier, right? I have to create a capitalized field that returns label. Now, what the problem is, if I try to place my blood pressure on label, for example, first of all, it's too crowded. It's too much it's too much clutter, right? So you have to declutter this. So we are going to have to create a calculated field that allows us to only return the label on the last bar, right? And it's not difficult at all. All it does is once the date color is true, then it will return yes and end. Okay, so we are going to place label on the detail now. So we are going to place label on detail, and we are going to put our blood pressure values on our label now. So I'm going to change this to average. I'll change this to average, and my label is going to be based on the min max, and I want to return the maximum value. So I'll click on min max. I'll return the min max of label and return only the maximum value. Can you see that now? So what that allows me to do is that allows me to create the label for only the last bar. That's the bar that's colored. I'll just edit my label a little bit and have something like this, just so that it's properly formatted. That's all. I'll also change the default properties of this one so that it's whole numbers as well. That's all we have here. And then I'm going to, I don't show the headers here. I don't show the headers here at all. And if you want, you can choose to not also show the headers here. That's fine. Then I want to change my color. I want my false color to be, I already have my preset color that I use. So I'm going to use those colors here. So I want the false to be that light blue, and I want the true to be this dark blue. Right. Again, a lot of things that I'm doing here. The other people that spoke on the other 3 different days. I'm sure they've like shown some of these things. So I'm not going to go into deep details about what I'm doing here, but I'll just format my sheets and I'll remove the background. I don't want the white background colors because of when I'm building my dashboard. I'll also remove any line dividers and I'll remove all of my grid lines and axis rulers. I don't really want them. Now, this one with this now, we are just going to copy and paste a lot of it. We're going to copy and paste. This is going to be for what? Blood pressure bar. So I'm going to just duplicate this. And all I'll be changing is this one here because it's all the same thing. All I'm changing is this and the label here as well. Okay, so I'll remove this label here. The next one I'll do is for BMI. So I'm going to change this to BMI. Put an average and I'll put BMI on label as well. Put BMI on label. I'll call this BMI bar. So I'm going to just run through the rest of them. It's just the same thing. I'm just going to be changing what I have on my rules. That's what I'm doing. So calories burned will be the same as well. Average calories burned, and change it to that on the text. That's all. Next one is calorie intake. Let me duplicate this and I'll duplicate it one more time just so I don't have to go through that. So I'll do calorie intake. I'll do calorie intake here. And I'll do calorie intake on label here as well. Okay, continue. I'll do my heart rate. And it's just going to be average of heart rates here and average of heart rates here. That's what I'm doing. Next one is mood score. So this is the mood score bar. So mood score bar, I'm going to drag average of mood score. So it's what I mean by when you get the first one, the others are very easy because it's basically a repetition. You're just like changing the row. That's all you're changing here, right? Because we've already done the first one and I've done it well. So for sleep duration, we're going to have sleep duration and I'm going to put average sleep duration here and put it on this guy here. Then we'll have steps counts and we'll drag the average steps counts here and we'll do the same thing here. We're just going to remove it here. Sorry about that. And lastly, we'll have water intake and it's just going to be the average of water intake. That's all we have to do there. So now these are all the charts we are putting on our dashboard. So we have actually created all the charts we need for our dashboard. We are now going to go straight to creating our dashboard, right? So we just have KPIs and bar charts. That's all. KPIs and bar charts. All that's left for us to do now is to place each KPI, and bar on the dashboard. So first, we are going to have set our dashboard dimensions. Our dashboard is going to be 1400 by 900. Okay, it's going to be 1400 by 900. And we are going to have to use containers for this. Okay, we are going to be using containers for this dashboard. Now, look at how the dashboard looks like. We have two vertical containers placed within two horizontal containers placed within the vertical containers. So these two charts here are inside one horizontal, inside one vertical container, and these two charts here are inside one container as well. For the sake of time, I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do. And also, if you look at the background, we have two different colors in the background, right? So we have one light gray color here and a dark blue color right here in the top or at the top. So we are also going to be doing that. So we are going to place this one down first. Right. So the height of this dark blue one, we are going to use floating objects, and we're going to place a blank here. So I'm going to put it on 0, 0, and it's going to be a height of 400. All right, and I'm going to select the color I already have here. So my background color for that is going to be my dark blue color that I already used here. And we are going to set another blank, right? It's going to be here. It's going to be 0 on the x-axis, and it's going to be 400 on the y-axis. It's also going to have the same width as the dashboard, but it's be 500 so that it contains the other length of the dashboard. And the color is also going to be a dark gray color I already have here. So that's going to be the background of the dashboard. Very straightforward. Then we're going to be placing our containers. So we have 9 different containers, right? We have 9 different containers for our 9 different metrics. Okay, so we're placing each of them one by one. We're placing each of them one by one. The first one we'll place is going to be this vertical container, which should be for the blood pressure. So I'm going to place it on 30, 170. Now I already have these positions basically laid out, so that's why I'm not I'm not going to be trying to figure out these places. I already have them laid out, so just so that we don't waste our time figuring it out basically, right? This one is going to be a bit shorter. I'm going to use 230 for it. This one also be longer. I will use, I believe, 670. Yeah. So this will be a vertical container. Then I'll place a blank there as my placeholder, and then I'll place my horizontal container there and a text above it. So the text is just going to say blood pressure. So it's going to be the title of that particular chart. Okay. It's going to say blood pressure 12 volt. That's all. And then inside the horizontal container, I'm going to place my KPI, which is the blood pressure KPI, and I'm going to place my blood pressure bar. Then I'll remove the blank. I'll hide the titles here and drag this, right? And then I will make the background of the vertical container to be white, just like this, okay? I'll make the background of the vertical container to be white, just like that. And I'll make this text a bit taller. This one will be a bit wider. I'll edit the width and make it 170. Okay, so that's basically all we'll be doing. We'll just be repeating that process for all the other dashboards, then all the other charts rather, and then we'll be, rounding up basically. Okay, so the next one is going to be a vertical container. Again, I'll just place it where I need to place it. So this will be on 480, 170, 432, 190. And then I'll make the background white. I'll put a blank here. Then I'll put my horizontal container. And I'll put my text. And this one will be for heart rates. Okay? To be for heart rates. Remove this. And then I'll put my heart rates KPI here. And I'll put my heart rates dashboard here. Or charts here rather. I type so. Make the width of this one to be 170, I believe. Cool. Boom. Next one we have is for the, what do you call it again? Yeah, the BMI. And that one will be, yeah, so that one will be change this to 933. 170, 432, 190. Now, a lot of these things we are doing, it's not difficult, right? It's because I'm just like rushing through them. That's why it looks like something crazy. But with enough time, I promise you, this feels very easy. Again, once you have your calculated fields set, you don't have to really stress yourself. There's nothing much left to do. If you notice, we are not building multiple different charts. We are not cracking our brains to create different designs. We are just using simple charts here to create insights. That's all we are doing here, right? So I'm going to place my blank here. I'll place my horizontal container here. I'll place my text here, and this should be body mass index. Okay, 12 bold, boom. Remove this one. Then I'll put my BMI KPI. I'll put my BMI bar. All right. Add title, I title, and I'll make it 178. Okay, I'll do the next one, which is here. Okay, so again, it's going to be 30, 370, 432, 190. I'll add my blank horizontal container text, and it's going to be for calories burned. Okay, 12 volt, boom. Next one, I think I did not place this in. Cool. I'm going to place my calorie bond this here and calorie bond bar chart here. Okay, I will give the weight to 170 and I will hide the titles. That's all I'm doing. My background for the my background, I'm going to make the background white. Okay, moving on, I'm going to do the same thing for the rest of them. Calorie intake as well. Drag it here. So it'll be 370, 432, 190. And I think this is 480, I believe. Yeah. Cool. Place my blank, place my text, call it calorie intake, bold, 12, boom. Put my calorie intake KPI there. Okay, I don't think I put my horizontal estimates. Okay, my horizontal container, calorie intake bar. Remove the blank. Sorry, I'm just breezing through this because again, it's repetitive. All I'm just doing is looking for the right position for it and placing it in the right position. That's all I'm doing. Again, when you are doing this on your own, you can take your time to, know what's best for you. But because of our time, I'm just going to be breezing right through it. So please, if you're not hearing me saying anything, just know that I'm trying to make sure that I don't waste time and I meet up with the time. Okay, I'll place the last one here. It's going to be 370. Okay, this is going to be 933. This is 190, and this is 432. Background is white. Text here, and this will be total steps. Bold, boom. So step KPI will be here. Okay, as for my horizontal, it's here. So step KPI will be here, and step counts will be here as well. Make it 170. And the last row is just going to be for what you call it. Yeah, it's going to be for the last one. So we're going to have this will be on 30. I believe it should be 570. Yeah, so this is 570. 432, 190. Something is up here. I think. Oh, right. So my dashboard is actually 1400 by 1800. So um, I'm also changing all the heights. I was wondering why you need smaller than it should be. So this should be 170, 190. This should be 170, 190. And this should be 170, 190. All right, this one now would be 570, 190. I'll place my text here, call it water intake, bold, 12, boom. Then I'll place my horizontal container and place my water intake KPI and my water intake bar chart. I'll make this to be 170. So again, you see that a lot of things we are doing are like rinse and repeats. We are just repeating what we are doing, like nothing, let's say difficult exactly here. They all look alike. So this kind of format, personally for me, I like this kind of format. It's like a grid format, right? It allows you to basically see a lot of metrics at the same time. That's why I really like it. It allows you to see a lot of metrics at the same time without making it too clustered. That's why I really, in a lot of my dashboards, I try to incorporate this grid format, particularly for metrics that need to be tracked all at once, right? So again, it's very easy. You just copy and pasting what you already have. So you have sleep duration, bold 12, full horizontal container here, sleep KPI here, sleep duration here, ITI2. Um, then I'll edit the weight to be 170. And we have one more to go. We have one more to go. And that is for the mood score. So again, 933, 570, 432, 190. And to background white text inside, mood score, bold 12, mood score here. Okay, I'm going to put my horizontal container first, then mood score KPI here, mood score bar here. And honestly, we have like what we have here is basically what we have here already, aside for a few touches. And those are just going to be the few things we'll be adding now. The title, the icons, and stuff like that, just to make the dashboard look good. First, before we do that, we are going to add paddings to our containers just to add more spacing, basically. So I'm going to be using inner padding of, should I use 5? Can I use 5? Can you stay anyone you want? I think 5 works here, so I'm just going to leave it as 5. And I'll do the same thing for all of them. I'll use inner padding of 5 on all of them. 5, 5, 5. It just makes it look better because before everything was like glued to the edges. Now we have just, it makes it just a bit more compressed, right? What's the height of this one? 28. I'm going to make this one also 28 just for uniformity. And yeah, we are almost done. The next thing we want to add is our what's it called? Our parameter. So we're going to put our parameter. I think you already added it for us here. Let's just remove it. That's Tableau for you. Anytime you add the charts that has like a filter or parameter, it will just um, create a tiled container for you, even when you don't ask for it. So let's remove all of this from the dashboard. All we need is our date period, and we are going to bring it to the front. So these are this period parameter will allow us to control what we want to do basically. Cool. So these are this period parameter. We just place it somewhere here. We'll hide the title and we just add a simple text. Just a simple text that says, yeah, a simple text that says, select your date period. Select date period. So we'll say select date period. Okay, so select date period. Let's see what we have here. Select date period to change the view. So we're going to say 10. Make it a bit lighter for visibility. Cool. Select date period, change the view. Now, what that tells the user is when I change this to last week now, I expect the entire view to change, right? So now the entire view is changing based on what I have in my last week. And you see that every other thing as well is changing. So when I say last month, what do you have? You have the days of the last month as well. Now there are other things you can do, like you can further fine-tune these things like the formatting. You can okay, let's just add all the other elements we need first. Let's add the title. The title is going to be HealthTracker dashboard. So I'm just going to say HealthTracker. And this is going to be maybe 28 or 26. I can't remember now. Let's just use 28. So this is HealthTracker. Now, all these other icons that I have here, I got them from Flat Icon. I call it Flat Icon, but I think it's pronounced Flat Icon. I think Kenny used it yesterday. So you can just go there and search for any icon you want and use them here. So all of these ones that I have here, they're actually individual icons I put there. So for example, if I want to put my blood pressure icon here, I'll just put an image. I'll choose the image I want. So I'll go to, yeah, I'll go to my icons. So the first one is blood pressure, right? So I'm going to click on this one and I'm going to center it and I'll make it 30 by 30. I think 30 by 30 or 20 by 20. And I'll just put it here, somewhere around here. You get. So again, I just did that and I repeated it for all of the other ones. So if you want to, you don't necessarily need to, but after building the dashboard, I just felt like it looks too plain and boring with just numbers and text. I wanted to just give it a little more life. So that's why I added icons like that. Again, you don't necessarily need to do this, but if you want your dashboard to look maybe okay, you want it to look more lively, always make use of icons. They kind of just give a certain life to your dashboard. Okay, I'll do that for this. Again, I'm just placing them randomly because of our time. I really don't want to shoot beyond the time that we have, and our time is almost up. So, but we are basically done what we are doing here. Calories burned. I'll do this. Okay, it should actually be the other one. That's fire. So, calories burned. Uh, Copy paste as well. Do the same thing here for calories, for calorie intake. Then do the same thing here for total steps. Total steps. going to be this. Again, all the icons are gotten from Flat Icon. Just go there, and it is a library of icons. That's a lot of icons that you can choose from. So it's very, 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 very good. There are other icon libraries, but I personally use Flat Icon for everything. Yeah, sleep duration also has good icon. Here, and last but not the least, we have water intake as well. Water intake will be this cup of water here. Right. So we are almost done. All we have to do is just add this current height and current weight. So for current height and current weight, it's basically just a simple it's just a simple sheet that we just did for the height and weight. So I'm just going to drag my height and my weight to the text, and I'm going to say latest day equals true on the filter. So this returns the height and weight for the most recent date, right? So then I'm going to just because I was feeling lazy, I just use space. You can use shapes and put them onto different axes if you want, but just for the sake of time, I just choose to use this one, current height, current weight. Yeah, basically, I'll make it a bit lighter. I'll make it bold, and this should have centimeters, and this would have kilograms. I'll make it 12 as well, or maybe 10. Place it there, list an entire view, put it in the center, boom, 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 go to our dashboard and list on our dashboard. So you can just put it somewhere here like this. If you want as well, actually, when I was creating this, it occurred to me that you can actually also add the current date, right? So if you want to add the current date, you can also add that so that the user can actually track what date is being shown on the sheet. So let me reduce the space here. If you want, you can just do current dates for this height weight. Current dates just will be your latest dates. That's all you are doing here. So it will be the exact date of your latest dates. That's all. So you can say current dates, right? Make this 10 bold and a bit lighter. Make it entire view and center it like this and place it very gently on your dashboard like this. Okay, so we are basically done. These other ones that we have here are not, I'll say they are not, let's just say they are not necessary. They are just there for added purpose, right? So what these ones do is just that this one allow you to download the dashboard as an image or as a PDF, and this one actually allows the user to understand what those metrics are. So if I click on that bell now, just because we don't have time, I can't really go through it, but it's just a sheet that has text, right? It's just text that is there and it kind of explains all those metrics, right? It just explains all of those metrics. If you want, just go to the dashboard and copy the text. You can download the dashboard, copy the text. It's not difficult. And what you have here is just an icon and text. That's all you have here. So let me see if I can quickly add that one. I'll just add a simple image here. I'll add a simple image here of the profile, center it, and make it a bit smaller, right? Make it a bit smaller and then add your text. So the text is just going to say, the text is going to utilize the name of whoever logs in with their Tableau account. So you have the full name here, maybe in 10, and then all it's going to say is logged in with a green circle. That's all it's going to say. It's just for added effects. Again, it doesn't actually change anything or do anything serious. It's just for added effects. Thanks to people like Bola, our guys at the top. I got this kind of like design tricks from them. It just gives a little more life. It makes it feel more realistic. It makes your dashboard look more realistic. Just add that there. And anytime anybody logs in with their Tableau account, is to show their name and to say, okay, logged in, so that it makes it feel like as if they actually logged in to a dashboard, right? What else is there? Okay, the download buttons. Yeah, you can also add download buttons in Tableau. We can just drag our download and make it an image. So right now it says download PDF, but all you have to do is just right click, edit, change it to image, and the button style will be image, and then you select the image you downloaded for it. So this is the image I downloaded for it, and I'm just going to say download as image here so that anybody that wants to use this, if they want to download the page, they can download the image of the page. And also I'll add another one for PDF so that if they want to download it as a PDF, they can always just do the same. I'm going to make an image as well and choose the image I already have in my library. And yeah, boom, they can download it as an image, they can download it as a PDF if they want to. And if you want, you can add a little text that just says download. Okay, download. Okay, I think we can leave it at that. We basically have the same thing we have here. We basically have the same thing we have here, just for one or two differences. We did not build the table, but like I said, the table is just a simple table in Tableau that you can just build. It's not very difficult. And now, what we have here is a simple interactive dashboard that allows users to track their health metrics, and it allows them to choose the period they want to view. So they can either view the last week, they can view the last month, or they can view the last year. If you want to actually interact with this dashboard, it's on my Tableau public profile. You can go there, download it, and interact with it and check it out. And also, I would love to see if you can attempt, creating or recreating this dashboard. I really, really hope that been able to, shed more light on some things, particularly the base calculations. I try to take a lot of time to explain the calculations because, like I said at the start, knowing what you want to do is more important than knowing how to do it. If you don't know what you want to do, then knowing how doesn't make any sense because what are you actually doing? Okay, so I always believe in taking time to break down whatever calculation, whatever things that we are doing that makes the dashboard work, and that's what I just try to do yesterday. I really, really hope that you've learned a few things. I hope you've been able to also understand some things better, some things that have been covered by our previous amazing speakers. I hope you've been able to, understand them better. I would really love to see you guys recreate this. So if you do, please tag Lagos CUG on Twitter or LinkedIn, anyway, post this. Thank you very much for listening to me talk for the last 2 hours. Um, I'm very, very grateful to you guys. Next week, Saturday, Sunday, there's, your sessions 5 and 6 are going to also come up. Please make sure you check your emails. You'll be receiving follow-up emails after this session as well. I believe the data set has already been provided to you so that you can, what's it called? So you can also practice on your own. So I'll really love to see you guys do that. I don't know if there's anything else I'm supposed to say, Kende or Bolan, but I think I'm done. Again, I really hope you guys have learned a few things from here. If you want to reach out to me as well, you can reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn. I'll be glad to speak to anyone to provide further assistance if necessary. All right. Thank you guys very much. Have a lovely Sunday and look out for emails. Look out for emails that will come up after this session. All right. Thank you guys very much. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye.